Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this presentation about consistency in the kitchen. I'm really excited to have a discussion with you about just how to create positive habits and hopefully sustainable habits around the food that we eat and that we enjoy. And I think that food is so important. It's tied to our identities and our cultures, and I want people to have a positive relationship with their food. It's not something we should be stressing over or having a battle with. It's something that we should love and appreciate and enjoy with the people we love. So hopefully some of these tips I go over this evening will be helpful for you. So I'm going to start this presentation. Let me just share my screen. There we go. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see this just fine. If you have any difficulty seeing it or hearing me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna jump right into this. So, a little bit about me before we get started. I am a personal trainer, a group fitness instructor, and a certified nutrition coach, and I specialize in plant-based nutrition. I'm the owner of VegShe Health Wellness. I am a vegan. I have 2 crazy dogs, and one fun fact about me, or at least I think it's fun, is that all of my house plants are named after female musicians, and only one of them isn't, and that's Bowie, and I felt like, David deserved that. So the rest of them are all named after female musicians. So that's a little bit about me and sort of my quirkiness. So we'll jump right into this with the problem. And the number one problem that I see as far as nutrition goes for people is consistency. So 9 times out of 10, clients come to me because they've tried a million different ways to get their nutrition on track and nothing seems to stick. So they might find something that they like initially, and then they think it's going well, and then they stop, or it doesn't last and they can't figure out why, and they're racking their brains about it. So I think too, it's really difficult because there's a lot of information on the internet and just out in the world about nutrition, and a lot of times that information is conflicting. A lot of it is really harmful, and most of it is pretty ineffective as far as long-term commitment goes. So if you're looking for ways to make slow and steady progress that will eventually turn into lifelong habits, then this is definitely the presentation for you, and I'm going to provide some helpful tips to get you started. So I have several different tips I'm going to go over. We're going to start with pace, so slow and steady, and I'm sure you've heard the expression slow and steady wins the race, and that couldn't be more applicable than it is for nutrition. So learning small habits and implementing them into your routine is a really good way to create change over a long period of time that is sustainable. And by taking the time to make these changes, maybe even just one step at a time or one change at a time, is going to be better than trying to make all these extreme changes all at once and with a sense of immediacy. If you're looking to do something that's going to last a lifetime, it's okay to pace yourself. So I think it's important, and I tell my clients this all the time, set yourself up for success by taking this in small bites. Another thing that's important is goal setting, and maybe you've heard of SMART goal setting. So that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So I think it's really important to set a goal. I think it's really important to write that goal down and put it somewhere where you're going to see it a couple times a day. So whether that's on a Post-it note or on your fridge or somewhere where you're going to look at it and you're going to have to read it and sort of repeat it to yourself in your mind. So a specific goal would be something like, I want to swap out one processed food item for a whole food item each week for 4 weeks. And then by the end of those 4 weeks, you'll have found whole food swaps for maybe processed foods that you'd been eating pretty consistently. And I'm pretty sure that not only would that be more affordable, but it's going to be better for you in the long term. So that's a specific goal. It's measurable. It's definitely attainable. It's definitely realistic, and it's timely. So you said specifically within 4 weeks you want to make this change. Totally doable. So I think it's important that when you set goals, that they meet all of these criteria. Otherwise, again, you're putting yourself in a position where you might not succeed. So that's that for goal setting. Next, meal prepping. So this is a practice that is going to help you be consistent with your nutrition. And again, it's a practice that if you're not used to doing it, take your time implementing it, right? So most habits take a person, even just one habit, take the average person maybe 30 days, about a month to implement and have it become a part of your routine. So expecting yourself to make all of these major changes really quickly, it's just not going to happen. So if you're not used to meal prepping, take it slow. Don't try to do everything all at once, because it's just, again, won't be successful. So meal prepping. So for myself personally, I meal prep every single Sunday. And on that Sunday, I cook my lunches and my dinners for the week. I don't tend to prep my breakfasts, and that's because I usually will have like oatmeal or like a protein shake. So those are things that don't necessarily need to be prepared in advance. But if you feel like you need to prepare those things ahead of time to be consistent with your food for the week, then by all means, prep your breakfasts. Overnight oats are a really good option. Chia puddings are a good option. So there's no wrong way to do this. Do what feels right for you. I also account for my healthy snacks for the week. Again, most of my snacks, like my breakfast, don't need to be prepared in advance, but I definitely write down what they're going to be and I include them in my menu. And so that brings me into menu planning. So I prepare my menu on Thursdays or Fridays, and I put together a list of my lunch entrees and my dinner entrees. And all my lunches for the week are the same, and all my dinners for the week are the same. So I'm really only cooking 2 entrees and a bunch of like healthy side dishes. That way I'm not spending all day on Sunday cooking, and I can pick recipes that I can cook in bulk so that I have enough food for myself and for my husband. And he helps me meal prep too, so it's not all just me. It's good if it's a team effort. And I find that by doing this, planning this menu and putting in the effort to prep, I'm less likely to eat crap during the week or order out. And that's not to say I don't make time or make a day each month that I order takeout. I totally do. I love takeout. But I find that I'm more consistent if my fridge is already full of good, healthy foods that I enjoy. Because if I go to my fridge and I'm hungry and it's empty, I'm definitely going to order pizza, right? So don't set yourself up to fail. Be prepared for the week. So back to creating that menu. So when I put together my menu, I look at what stuff I already have in the house, and then I create a shopping list based on what I need to make that menu happen. I usually use Google Keep, which is an app. It's a free app. To create my grocery list, and I really like it because I can share it with my husband and we have a shared list. That way we can, throughout the week or when we create our menu, we can add things independently and we know what we need to buy. Once I've made my list, I stick to it. Stick to it, stick to it, stick to it. So don't stray from that list. Commit to it. Otherwise, things can get out of hand at the grocery store, not only in terms of like your budget, but in terms of the quality of food that you're bringing into your home. So that brings us to grocery shopping. And I'm sure you've all heard this before, but do not go grocery shopping hungry. That is going to get you into a world of trouble. Anytime Brian and I have gone to the grocery store hungry, we have easily walked out with extra chips, definitely cookies, and we usually end up in the car outside of the grocery store eating said chips and cookies because we're starving. So don't do that to yourself. It happens sometimes. Nobody's perfect. We're definitely guilty of doing that for sure, but if you can help it, just don't go to the grocery store hungry. Save your wallet and your calories for something else. Another trick that I think is really helpful when you're grocery shopping is to start by shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. So the majority of grocery stores are set up in such a way that all of the fresh produce, the baked like whole grain breads, all the good bakery stuff, and then just all the less processed and refined foods, the fresh foods, are around the perimeter of the store. So shop that first before you start getting into those aisles that have highly palatable foods like the cookies and the ice cream. And that's not to say you shouldn't get some cookies or some ice cream if they're on your list. That just means that you are more likely to hit the perimeter and pick up more fruits, for example, and veggies than going straight for those snack aisles. And then, like I said before, stick to your list. And I account for some sort of dessert or treat on my list every week. So I go into the store already knowing what that's going to be, because I'm a big believer in balance, and I don't think you should start a work week without some sort of treat or something that you enjoy already in your pantry or your refrigerator. For some people, a special treat is chips. For other people, it's sweet stuff like cookies. Whatever that is, account for it and include it in your list ahead of time. I feel like that way you're still getting, the majority of the food you're getting is still healthy, but you're having something special around the house that you can incorporate into your meals every day without letting it get out of hand. So that's for grocery shopping. Next, this seems super obvious, but you've got to listen to your body. And I think a lot of us get so caught up in our work days that we kind of blow it off. We don't listen to what our body is telling us. We don't listen to it when it tells us we've been sitting at the computer for too long, or when it's hungry, or when it's thirsty. And by the time we recognize all of those needs and actually start to meet them, we're starving. We totally have to go to the bathroom. We're dying of thirst. Like, our poor bodies have been screaming at us all day and we've been ignoring them. So if you take anything away from this, it's that I would like for you to try to listen to your body more. It's a very awesome, force of nature, and it has the ability to communicate to you when it wants something or needs something, and just take the time to listen to it. Be kind to yourself. I think it's really important to eat when you feel hungry and stop eating when you feel satiated. I think portion sizes in the United States are crazy out of control, and I think that the whole idea of clearing your plate is super old school and slightly problematic. There's no reason why you can't take the leftovers home. So if you start to feel full, stop eating. There's no reason why you should feel like you're rolling out of a restaurant because you didn't listen to your body saying, okay, I think I'm good, So listen to your body. It's going to tell you what it wants and what it needs. Again, back to what I said before, eat foods that you enjoy. I'm a firm believer in balance, and there's no reason why you can't eat the foods that you love, and everything in moderation, right? So again, there's no reason why you can't have cookies every day. You just don't want to eat 2 boxes of cookies every day, right? So do what feels right for you. Just remember that balance and moderation are key. Next, nutrition labels. So believe it or not, that nutrition label isn't just to decorate the box or the package. It's actually there for your information. And so I think it's really important to start familiarizing yourself with nutrition labels and ingredient lists. It's important to know not only how much you should be eating based on what your body needs, but also what are the ingredients in the foods that you're eating. Not only do people have food sensitivities, but there are some weird things that I can't pronounce in all kinds of foods. And if I can't pronounce it, and if I Google it and I find out it's some sort of weird animal excretion, I'm not going to want to eat it. So you should know what's in your food. You wouldn't just put some sort of random fluid into your car instead of gasoline, right? So why would you do that to your body? It's the same idea. You want to know what you're putting in. You want to be putting in good stuff. If you're looking to portion your meals and keep track of how much you're eating, I recommend using a free app like MyFitnessPal. It's a great way to keep track of what you're eating, and you can scan those barcodes on the food packaging, and it'll sort of process the whole nutrition label for you, which I think is really helpful. It takes the guesswork out of things. Um, I use a food scale when I portion my food for each meal, so I know exactly how much I'm eating. Again, that's something that took me years to get used to doing. Now it's second nature for me to portion out my meals using a food scale. It didn't used to be, and it took a long time to get to the point where it was normal for me. And just like I was saying before with setting goals and taking your time, there's no reason why you need to become a pro meal prepper, foodware overnight. It takes time and it takes practice, but because I've been doing it for so many years, I know I'm going to keep doing it for years and years to come. So be patient with yourself, become familiar with these tools, but take your time. And they might not be the tools that you end up liking. You might hate MyFitnessPal and maybe you find something else that you enjoy. That just happens to be a free tool that has been really helpful for me. Next, hydrate. Again, this goes back to listening to your body. If you get to the point where you're really thirsty, you've probably already waited too long to drink water. And I do know that some people don't like water. I don't know if it's too bland for them or what, but you can certainly add like cucumbers to your water or orange slices as long as you clean the orange correctly and thoroughly. There's ways you can make water more interesting, but your body, the majority of your body is made up of water. You've got to have it to live. Find ways to make your water interesting so that you drink and stay hydrated. If you drink a lot of caffeinated beverages, you have to increase the amount of water that you drink to make up for that because caffeine can be very dehydrating. And also, hydration needs are going to depend on how active you are. It's going to depend on the weather. Right now, it's really hot outside. You could be losing electrolytes if you've been outside. So, hydration needs, they vary quite a bit from person to person. But as long as you are not feeling like you're dying of thirst and your lips aren't all dried out, you're probably doing okay. Another surefire way to know if you're drinking enough liquids is the color of your urine, and there's lots of scales online to give you an idea of what color it should be. Generally, somewhere around a green tea color is probably good. Although, if you take a lot of vitamins, that's going to make your pee a crazy yellow color, and then there's no way to gauge it for sure. So go based on how your body's feeling. If you feel dehydrated, you probably are, and so drink some water. My final recommendation is to ask for help. So like I was saying, this is a lot of information to cover. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that can be kind of confusing. And trying to navigate your nutritional needs without the help of a professional, so a nutrition coach, a nutritionist, it's basically like trying to build IKEA furniture without looking at the directions. It's just not going to work. And so if you feel like you need more help, I'm always here for that. You can reach out to me and I can provide a support system for you, or you can go through your medical doctor and get a recommendation or a referral for a nutritionist. But unless this is something you're trained in, I recommend that you reach out to someone who can support you as you start making these changes, because they're big and the amount of calories we need depends a lot on a ton of factors, and it's just too much, I think, for anyone, the average person, to navigate if it's something that they haven't studied or gone to school for. So that is my recommendation. Ask for help. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then we can jump into the Q&A portion of this. Let's see. Okay, Atsiri, do you have any questions?
So one thing that I've been struggling with again, since I did transition to vegetarian, I'm having trouble experimenting with food. For a while, I was trying out like different protein sources. Like I realized that I don't like tempeh, but
Oh,
I
I
do,
don't either. I don't either.
yeah, but I do like tofu. I don't really know what this is, but it's from the No Evil brand. It's vegan chicken. So I do like that, but I feel like I'm kind of stuck with just that and
Okay.
like patties, like pre-made black bean patties. So how would I go about like meal prepping something using those things because they're fast, but also like incorporating something newer.
Sure. Okay. So there are a lot of alternatives out there. It's funny you don't like tempeh. I can't stand tempeh, and I've had it made all different ways. So the No Evil brand is good. There's a lot of other brands that I like that I can recommend. Anything from Beyond Meat is good. Impossible Foods. There's Gardein. I'm trying to think of what I eat every week. I just like plain old tofu too because it's really versatile. So if you press your tofu and then you saute it in a pan with like soy sauce and ponzu, and even just looking up a recipe for sauteing tofu, you can do a lot with it. You can make it sweet or savory, which is really cool. Um, if you're looking to be a little more whole food plant based, you're going to benefit from having things like lentils and beans and whole grains. So, like quinoa, um, wild or brown rice. So, I think sometimes when people transition away from eating meat products, they feel like in their minds they need to see something that would be qualified as the protein or see something that looks like a meat. But in fact, you can get all of the nutrients you need and then some just by making like a really good lentil soup, right? Or making a curry. So I like to make chickpea curries, things like that, that still have just as much protein and good nutrients, and they don't necessarily look like a meat, but that doesn't mean you're not getting the benefits from them, if that makes sense. But I'd be happy to send you some more of the stuff that I've been trying just so you can get an idea of, what's out there. Because I've traveled far and wide to crazy distant grocery stores to get a hold of new products, and I've definitely tried a lot. So I'd be happy to send you some of those things later if you think that would be helpful. Um, if you're looking to find recipes that don't require any of these fake meats, Pick Up Limes is a really good source of recipes, and everything she makes are whole food plant based, and none of it is processed or comes in a package. And all of her recipes are pretty delicious. Also, Forks Over Knives, they use a lot of good stuff, lots of just veggies and grains and fruits, and it doesn't require you to spend the extra money on like packaged fake meats, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, whatever you think would be helpful to me, please send it over because I've
Yeah,
been taking a rep for a little bit.
I can drop it in the chat too. Forks Over Knives is that one. Pick Up Limes. I would say with Pick Up Limes, as wonderful as her recipes are, you definitely only want to probably make one of them a week because they are a little involved. That's not to say that they're difficult, but they can be a little time consuming.
Mhm.
Um, but those are two good websites I just dropped into the chat. So hopefully you can find some recipes on there. And then I'll look in my freezer. I'll just send you some some
Mhm.
pictures later of all the different um, products that I've kind of stocked up during this stay at home time. I got an extra freezer and I filled it up with all kinds of stuff. So I'll have to see what's out there and I'll send you some pictures.
Thank you.
Of
Um,
course.
I also wanted to ask, since you mentioned that you meal prep everything pretty much on Sunday, do
Mhm.
you freeze some of your meals or does everything just stay in the refrigerator? Or how do you keep everything pretty much fresh, tasty?
I keep everything in the fridge and I keep my fridge pretty cold. Like if you put stuff in the top back of my fridge, it'll freeze. But I find that it lasts for the week and I haven't had any issues because I cook Sundays and the food usually lasts me through Friday. And then sometimes on Saturdays I have to wing it with something I've got in my freezer, but I try to just get Monday through Friday taken care of because those are the days that I'm the busiest. Saturdays I don't mind cooking something on a whim just for Saturday, if that makes sense. Another thing I do too is on a week that I'm busy, I'll just cook dinners, and then for lunches I'll make sandwiches. So I use tofurkey deli slices and like Ezekiel bread, and I just make a good old fashioned like lunch sandwich and I have like a side of veggies and fruit, and that's really fast, and that's something I'll make on the go. But yeah, I just keep everything in the fridge, and it keeps just fine. It does help that I have someone helping me eat everything, right? So Brian is here to help me eat the food. So we always finish it before it goes bad, and it's all good through Friday. So we haven't had any issues with anything not lasting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. So I think that was pretty much all I had for the presentation this evening. I am not going to have a webinar in June, but there will be one. I'm sorry, it is June. I'm not going to have a webinar in July, but I am going to have one in August, and it's going to be August 18th, and we're going to be talking about dairy, which is always fun. And that's it. That's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I look forward to seeing you at the webinar in August.